Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we got the position 4 tier list for 7.35D. This is the updated tier list for all the 4 heroes, and if there are heroes in here that you think are 4 heroes that aren't on the list, I probably didn't forget, even though that is possible. It's probably not here because the hero is more so a 5. There are some exceptions to that, but without further ado, let's talk about the best position 4s and the worst position 4s of 7.35D. Alright, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the Game League website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken, click the link down below and sign up. Alright, getting into the E tier, this is the worst heroes in the game. First off, we have Monkey King, which I would actually like to talk about. I think Katome, the 4-player for Entity, recently won on this hero, and it honestly just made me sick because I hope he continues to develop this idea. It's like you just snipe couriers, but then you have this Monkey King that's like level 2, level 3 running around. So if he didn't get at like minute 10 or minute 9, if he didn't get enough value out of sniping couriers, this strategy is just straight up terrible because the Monkey King will have little to no impact. He has a mediocre slow, an awful stun. He gives some vision, and then he just keeps sniping couriers. But the problem is your offlaner is literally 1v2. Now, the justification is that the other lanes can't get their items. That is kind of true. And yeah, it is annoying. But honestly, as an offlane player, my Monkey King just not laning is so 8. You have to pick this only if the enemy position 5 is some weak hero. Maybe like Chen. You can get away with it, maybe. But then if Chen gets the right creep, it's like, no, not gonna happen. So I hate it. I hate it. I think this hero is hard. The scaling for Monkey King is also terrible unless you just get to farm the whole map, which is unlikely. Then we have Weaver. I think this hero for a while now has not been a good support. The numbers got nerfed too hard. We have Morta. Ever since the W changes, she has been a terrible support. Some players have tried to make it work. I just don't think it's good. We then have Snapfire, who for a while now just hasn't been a good pub hero. When her ulti is on cooldown, it's just one of the hardest heroes in the game to play and to get value out of. The laning stage is just okay. I think there's just nothing overall redeeming about Snapfire besides a little bit of synergy with Mars, and I don't like Mars. We have Furion, who for a while I would have put much higher, but I just think the numbers nerf have finally got to him. Enough nerfs in a row have just made this hero not good. TP, Sprout, base damage, base agi, base strength, like too many nerfs in a row have made this hero a bad support. It just griefs where it goes. I think there are some lines, but that's every Dota hero. Every Dota hero, like Monkey King, has a line. Muerta has some decent matchups like Puck, you know, but overall it's just bad. And same thing with Enchantress, just overall not good, not worth the difficulty of playing a micro hero. Then we have D tier, we have Lion, who just ever since his nerf to the Q and some other small nerfs has not recovered and is just a bottom tier support. It just gets run over in a lot of lanes. It's bad base stats, really punish this hero. Wind Ranger as a support is too fragile. I do think it's like okay because of the shard, but if you don't rush the shard, it's just terrible. Then we have Skywrath, who for a while now hasn't been good and hasn't gotten any real buffs, so he stays bad. Then we have Rubik, who I think has some decent matchups in Dota, you know, against like, you know, Earthshaker and Tiny and Magnus, you know, these initiators where an instant lift is extremely practical and has good steals. Then Rubik becomes like a C tier hero, but I think for the most part, just not very good. Even though its base stats are nice, the mana cost of Fade Bolt in the lane is kind of rough. Then we have Tinker, yeah! 6 base armor, baby! 7 base armor, what? It's just crazy. This hero actually trades quite well, but at the end of the day, it's still clunky. I don't think it's very good. But I wanted to put him in here because I do think it can be played as a support, and it's not the worst. I think it is better than most of these heroes on average. Then we have Doom, who, you know, has some good matchups like Faceless Void and Morphling as a 4. It can be okay, but overall, on average, wouldn't pick it. Like, in pubs, you have to pick support blind. Doom just is going to be a grief in a lot of games. Then we have Mrana. I think in the pro scene, this hero is like B tier, but I think in a low level, its bad laning stage is just not good. It's just problematic. You know, you pair it with a lot of heroes and we're like, oh, but do Centaur with Mrana Arrow. It's like, Mrana Arrow level 1 is just not that good. It's just not that good, and it's hard to use it outside of like pairing it with the chain stun, which often is clunky. I'm so not a fan of Mrana 4. Just Mrana support in general, I think only at a high level is it justified due to its like strong mid-game rotations, but that just doesn't happen in pubs. It's mostly team fights, which I don't know. Then we have Pugna. The hero receives a lot of number nerfs. I think honestly Pugna could be more of like a C tier. And that is justifiable due to its overall reliable laning stage, but I think this hero is better as a core nowadays. It just As a support, it doesn't do enough. In terms of scaling, I think it needs items for this hero, because it has a good laning stage, but that's about it. It often falls off, and it's a shame. Like, it is a shame, because I'm a huge Pugna fan. Then we have Winter Wyvern. I think the numbers just aren't good enough. The hero's better as an offlaner. Caudle, I think, like, I played Bristle Caudle yesterday. GH picked Caudle. He made the hero look pretty good. He had a lot of impact, but in most matchups, like most synergies, it's just terrible. Like, I feel like this hero is just, it just loses most lanes. It just doesn't do enough. And then its mid-game impact, pre-6, is just terrible. Like, you can Chakra Ember Spirit, but it's just not that good. And Ember Spirit and Pango aren't that good. So, or like Void Spirit. Most of its good mid pairings are not even that good right now. So I think the meta just does not favor this hero. Pudge, whatever. I have nothing to say. TB got over nerfed when it was good. It was good. Then it got over nerfed. Earth Spirit, this hero's just been kind of bad for a while. Phoenix, very difficult to play. Payoff's not there. Talked about Pugna. Shadow Demon, I think at high level games, like pro games, this is an A tier or B tier hero due to it has some good like synergies. Like Brewmaster is very cool. I think Kunkka, Shadow Demon, is extremely powerful. So it has Slardar is really good with this hero. Centaur, but in pubs, if you don't have these synergies or you don't work together, very hard. The E is a strong spell, but you got to know how to hit it, how to use it. You got to know when to stack with this hero. It requires a lot of understanding, and just the payoff, if you don't have these understandings, is not there. The hero just won't get enough value. Then we have Gyro, who I think its dominant laning stage can make it a B tier or A tier hero if you really understand it. It can scale well because it can farm, but most players just don't farm as support. And as a result, heroes like Shadow Demon and heroes like Gyrocopter, or even Phoenix, that can be good if you farm a lot, just aren't there. Like, if you don't do these things, if you don't make the right plays, you just try to fight under the towers when there's no play to be made, you're just gonna feed because the hero has to be melee range, and it's a support. It's gonna have no HP because it's a support until the mid game. And so, yeah, you got to know what you're doing. Tiny, mechanically difficult, a lot of number nerfs. Pro scene, think it's a high B tier, low A tier hero. Pubs, it's C tier. Then we have Grimstroke, whose win rate is actually decent. Tends to be a bad pub hero, but its win rate's decent. You know, the shard is good, the ag scales. So has some decent matchups in the meta too, like Luna, Lifestealer. The Lifestealer copy, the Luna copy, the Medusa copy are all very good with the ags in the late game, but you got to get there. Then we have Io, who I actually think maybe is more of like a mid-tier, B-tier hero. The Holy Lock and mech build is very good right now and pairs well with a lot of strong offlaners. I like the Razor Io combo a lot. We then have Dark Willow, who this hero's like fine, but I feel like it's just not OP. You know, it hasn't received a major buff recently and it kind of needs it. Then we have Marcy, who I think, you know, Phase Boots BKB Rush is pretty strong and it has some good laning pairs. Once again, like Razor, kind of like Io. It has some good pairings that can be really, really dominant. Even certain melee combos with Marcy are very impressive, like Brewmaster is very good. I think Kunkka's actually quite good. I think Centaur is extremely good. Slardar is really good with Marcy. Just any hero that has like follow-up to her dispose is very good. Hoodwink received a lot of number nerfs, and the fall-off of Maelstrom and Mage Slayer have made this hero worse. Tusk, I think it's just okay. I personally think it's just not the best melee hero, and I think it's mechanically very difficult, as well as bad scaling makes it not as good of a pub hero. Spirit Breaker I don't think is a great hero right now, but it tends to be a good pub hero because it baits a lot of spells. People will just click their spells on you even when you're bulldozed, and that's going to make you a good initiator. Tanky heroes tend to have good pub win rates, even if they're not very good pub heroes, just because people misreact to your initiation. They overcommit on you. And you can split push and farm, which is really nice. Then we have Elder Titan, who I think is actually a pretty decent 4 hero, as well as an offlaner and even a good 5. You can scale into the game by just going Phase Boots Ags. You honestly can have a lot of impact. Or you can just go drums, Phase Boots, and click people down. There's a lot of angles to go. We have Earthshaker, who I think is actually a decent hero nowadays. The Blink Brush build, you have a lot of impact in the early fights, and it has received buffs over the past few patches. So I don't know why this hero isn't a bit better. I think it's mainly the laning stage can be clunky. Then we have Techies, who has been nerfed and nerfed and nerfed, but it doesn't matter. It's just a very solid hero that does it all. We have Venomancer, who is a good pub hero due to its high damage output. Its laning stage can be a bit clunky because it can get run down to its low HP and low movement speed, but if you avoid these issues, it farms, it creates space, it can take up map when the game slows down, it can play very fast because its ulti is a great initiator. There's a lot of angles with Venom 4, and with Vessel, you can do a ton of damage. We then have Undying, which is actually, in my opinion, a great 4 hero. I think it's very, very undervalued and has a lot of good synergies in the offlane. For instance, certain offlaners in the early levels are pretty bad, or they need someone in front to set up for their spells. I think examples of this are like Kunkka, right? Kunkka is going to provide all the initiation in a lot of games that you need in the mid game, but it needs someone to frontline for him or set him up in the early levels. And I think Undying can do that very, very well. So I believe a lot of teams, even pro teams, should experiment more with this hero. I think it's a good flex between 4-5, and I think in pubs it's absolutely the case and can be very, very powerful because it also is going to win the large camp a lot of the time. Due to how good it is at trading, you're able to place down a sentry, unblock your large camp, and prevent the 5 from blocking again, and this is super powerful. Then we have Clock, who's been buffed a couple times recently. Just a decent overall hero. I think the best build on this hero is Ags. I think the Ags, or Mana Boots and Ags, Tranquils, Raindrops, Wand, and Ags is very powerful. We have Bounty Hunter, who I think tends to be a very good pub hero just because constant fighting, if you're good at throwing out tracks, you can be a complete nuisance. The skill build is 4 points Shuriken, then you buy an Ags, and you can have a ton of impact on this hero. Then we have Treant, just always a good pub hero, frontliner, team fight, BKB piercing, good laning stage, like Treant's just I think it's honestly a good hero in Dota right now. I think pros are undervaluing Treant like crazy. I really don't understand why this hero is not picked. The BKB piercing disable is super practical. The armor is super practical. The laning stage with like Luna is very, very good. I just think that more people should consider this hero. Then we have Nyx Assassin, the best melee 4. It's extremely good in pubs. Just easy to play. You know, the mid game is just incredible. You know, you buy a Dagon, and it's not a meme. You one-shot people with Dagon. It's very hard to play against, and a lot of carries will get one-shot. PAs who are rushing Battle Fury will get one-shot. You know, Slarks, if they're not careful, will get one-shot. And it makes the map very, very hard to play, and the scaling against hero is great. Its spells naturally scale, and it naturally can one-shot supports in the late game. So it becomes a menace. Then we have Zeus, who I think is actually a great 4 hero. I really believe this. The laning stage is honestly quite good if you stay in the lane. For some reason, every time I have a Zeus 4 in my pubs, they just leave the lane. Like, we'll dumpster the lane early on, either with Zeus Q or Zeus W, and then they just leave. I don't understand why. Where are you going? This hero doesn't really roam. What I recommend, guys, is just focus on making stacks in the triangle if there's no lane pressure, or just keep laning. The hero does a lot of damage, and it pairs very well with certain heroes like Brewmaster and other stunners who can kind of just run in for him. Then we have Batrider, who I could not put here. Its win rate is just not good, but there's just no way this hero is not an A tier 4. People are just bad at Dota. Like, it's just too good. It's laning stage, reliable. Like, as a 4, it's easy to play. You don't even have to be good at using sticky napalm. Literally all you need to do. But people can't do this because they get too wrapped up in early fights. Like, a lot of players are just bad at Dota, even supports, because they have to fight. They feel that they have to kill people. They have to make space. If you understand that you don't need to do that as a support, Bat is a high A tier hero because it farms faster than every other support in the game, besides maybe Chen or something like that. You know, it just farms so fast, and then you get a 13-14 minute blink reliably with a good laning stage, and then you just kill the mid laner off a smoke every single game. I watch pro games. Every game this happens. This hero is so good. It's super reliable. It scales. It pushes in waves. Just buy a Blink 4 staff into a Glimmer or into BKB. Blink 4 staff Glimmer is extremely good. High impact. Just get the first lasso of the fight. Find it. Bring the opponent into your team. And then that's all you gotta do. Team fight over. Boom. Then we have Bane. I think Vessel 4 Bane is extremely good. I think the Q-Max, the QE Max, you can skill Brain Sap 2 points for the laning stage, but then QE is extremely high impact, very obnoxious for pubs, and in the meta, it's good. There's some Lycan and Beastmaster, but uni heroes are super uncommon in pubs, so Bane tends to thrive. Then we have Venge. I think Ag's Venge is just extremely good in pubs. As a 4, this is no exception. It has some good synergies, like the Brewmat. I know I'm using that example a lot, but I guess it's what comes to mind for me, but there's a lot of examples. It's good with Bristleback, it's good with Slaughter, it's good with Centaur, you know, there's a lot of chain stun combos that are just good. Then we have Witch Doctor. Yes, maybe he's more played as a 5, but as a 4, he deserves to be here. It's a great 4 hero. I would highly recommend picking it if you're just playing pubs. 0k to 6k. It's just a high damage hero that scales, you know, even after the Ags nerfs. Personally, I've been recommending it as of late. The QE Max, right, Maledict and Stun Max with Vessel into Shard Blink is just insanely impact, or Blink Shard. I think Blink Shard is probably better on average, just so you can really close the gap with Maledict. And yeah, you just do too much damage. Pure damage in late game, it's good. Yes, it's blocked by evasion nowadays, which is kind of annoying against some like Radiance carriers. Like Lifestealer, for instance, he used to be way worse against Witch Doctor. Now he's actually quite decent because of the evasion he can get from Radiance. But still, like, you just scale. And finally, let's get into S tier heroes. First off, we have Shadow Shaman, who's been getting buff and buff and buff and buff. And now I really do think he is a top tier support. I like having this hero on my team in pubs because the laning stage is pretty good. You know, you just shock people with either shock at level 1, then you take shackle at level 2 and 3, and level 3 shackle heals so much. Like, you just see the shaman getting gone on, and then he pops the level 2 shackle, and boom, the guy's healed like 160 health. You've taken 160 damage. It's just so powerful. Then in terms of the mid game, Hex is just this obscene ability nowadays. Like, Hex has got to be a top 10 Dota spell. 2.9 second instant disable, 12 second cooldown, and at level 10, you get Hex damage amplification. This ability amps damage by 35%. 35! All damage sources. Like, literally, this spell is just insane. You go on someone, like, at the right time, when your teammates can follow up, they explode. Completely explode. Roshan explodes. Everyone explodes. It is ridiculous what Shaman can do. On top of that, the solo kill potential of this hero is insane. All you have to do is lead in with your Hex. If they don't see you coming, lead with Serpent Wards, then Hex, so that the first hit of Serpent Wards gets damage amp. And you can solo kill people so easily because the Serpent Wards will hit twice during Hex if you can Serpent Wards then Hex, which is what you should aim to do if they don't know. Then you Shackle and you can solo kill like anyone. This 10 talent is obscene. The Shackle's total damage is a good talent, but there's no way you don't take the Hex damage amp. The 15 talents both are really, really OP. Shackle's duration is just Shackle's duration. It makes it last for literally 5.2 seconds if they can't cancel it. Serpent Ward's attack range is a great talent. At level 20, Hex breaks just makes certain matchups very playable. Level 25, I think Ether Shock damage is the way to go, just so you can one-shot waves. Yeah, the W is just OP, good laning stage, and you can solo kill people if they mess up. As well as objective damage. Like, I had a Shaman just take my tower for me, and it was really nice. He just opened up the game for me. He hit a minute 9, level 6, and it was nice. And then finally we have Disruptor, who I know is also the S tier hero for the 5 list, but he deserves to be here. This hero is extremely good right now, and it is definitely a 4 hero. If anything, I think it's a better 4 than a 5 because of the fact that you can just buy mana boots, then your shard. If you don't know what the shard does, it makes the cast range of your Q 1600. You can cast Thunderstrike from 1600 units. That's literally the whole screen. It strikes 6 times and you max it, so it's like a 700 damage nuke that gives vision and slows for 0.4 seconds by 100% attack speed and movement speed. It is obnoxious. And then you can you Q someone, they can't move for 6 seconds or they get annoyed for 6 seconds. On a 9-second cooldown, it one-shots waves, so it lets you farm, it lets you track people, it does a ton of damage, it slows. So you just go Mana Boot Shard, and then you buy an axe. You just buy an axe. You can buy useful items too, like Glimmer is obviously very good on this hero. Glimmer, drums, or axe. Don't buy other shit. Blink is good too. Blink is good too, because you can set up with your Static Storm. But Shard Rush Disruptor is just so good, and I love having this hero on my team because I'll show you guys quickly my offlane hero pool. Like, this is my offlane page. Like, a lot of the heroes I like playing aren't necessarily the best initiators. So like having Disruptor with Darkseer, super good. The laning stage is really good. He just kind of helps you get through it. Timber lacks catch. This hero lacks direct catch. Kunkka sort of lacks direct catch, but this is the least needed. These two, I love having Disruptor, Like, it's just so nice with the meta heroes that I like playing personally. So maybe I'm a little biased, but a lot of these meta offlaners like Darkseer and Kunkka, like Darkseer, Brewmaster, the unit heroes, if you play them, Bristleback, love having this long range catch plus lane dominator. It's just so practical and powerful. And yeah, the heroes buff in the recent patch has just elevated it to this level. And yeah, the main thing I'd like to say is just max Q and W. There are some people straight up skipping kinetic field, and honestly, I think it's a decent idea. It's a little sus because the longer it's on the ground, the more damage it does. So if they're in the later portions of Static Storm, the more damage it does. So keeping them in it with Kinetic Field means the Static Storm will deal way more damage. Obviously, also keeping people in your silence is just good. But honestly, the W and the Q, like, these spells just do so much damage when you max them out. Glimpse just feels bad not to max too. The range, it makes a big difference, especially with the Q. Yeah, that's gonna be all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.